Hey guys, Exploit here, back again with another video, and thank you so much guys for all the support. Just want to throw that out immediately. We've finally hit 30,000 subscribers. That is incredible. And you know, I just can't thank you guys enough, and I promise to make even more informative and obviously more videos on the channel. Alright, that being said, let's get started with today's video. So in today's video, we're going to be continuing with our Metasploit, and today we'll be looking at some basic exploitation. Alright, so again, following up from the information gathering section where we learned how to gather information, we're still going to be touching up on information gathering using, web vulnerability scanners or like, for example, OpenVAS, and we'll be looking at all of that, right? But for now, let's focus on some basic exploitation. Now, before we start, I just want to let you guys know that I'm using Metasploitable 2, and I would recommend that you use it as well. All right. Now, reason being is because it goes hand in hand with Metasploit, and it's a fantastic way of learning or practicing your exploitation. You know, you can configure it to match your skills, and you can increase the security, etc., etc. By the way, we'll also be looking at the web applications that come with Metasploitable 2, for example, the damn vulnerable web application, Matillidae, etc., etc. But for today, let's look at some basic exploitation. All right. So I already have Metasploitable 2 running as a virtual machine, and I already know the IP address. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to perform an nmap scan with ZenMap here, so we have a visual representation of what's going on. Okay. So I'm just going to perform a scan. And while it's scanning, as you can see, it's already discovered the open ports. So we know that's good. So let me just open up my terminal here, and we can start up the Metasploit console. But let me just use the normal terminal here, so we have a good idea, or we can see what's going on in the terminal. So I'm going to start off the MSF console, all right, or the Metasploit console as it is. So while they're starting, let's check what information nmap, or in this case ZenMap, has gathered. All right, so we've got the ports, and today we're going to be exploiting the first one. All right, the first service, which is the FTP port. So it's running VSFTP, VSFTPD. All right, so that's very important that we understand that it's running that service, because that's what we're going to be exploiting today. Okay, so let's check if the Metasploit console is started up. There we are. Fantastic. All right. So what do we need to do first? All right. So as I said, the first thing that we need to know is what service are we trying to attack? In this case, we are trying to attack the port 21, the FTP port, and the software version or the service version is VSFTPD 2.3.4. Now, this is a very old software or a service version that is running, and it is extremely vulnerable. And again, because it is Metasploitable, we know that this is designed to be vulnerable. So, whoops, let me just go back here. So let's actually use some of the exploits that come with Metasploitable, right? So let me just expand my console there. And what we need to do now is, if you remember with the basic commands that we went through, is we're going to be using an exploit. All right. So again, obviously from the title of the video, you already guessed that we're going to be using an exploit. So from this stage onwards, I'm guessing that you're familiar with the syntax that we're going to be using. So the first thing we need to do is we need to search for an exploit. All right. So it's really very simple. All we do is hit search, and now we go with the information that we have. All right. Let's say we did not know at all what we're doing here. What we would do is we would go from the version that we have, which is VSFTPD. All right. So we would search for vulnerabilities that involve the VSFTPD service. All right. So service, so search VSFTPD. All right. And I'm just going to search. Now, again, I've not started the database or built the database, so it's going to take a few seconds. No need to worry there. Just let it go on. And it's gonna respond, or it's gonna display, or it's gonna output some results for exploits that we can use depending on the service. Okay. So just give it a few seconds and let's see what we get, what exploits we can actually use to exploit the Metasploitable 2 vulnerabilities on the FTP port. All right. Now going back to the ports here, as you can see, we can see that the state of the port is open, which is pretty obvious. That's how we'll be able to get the attack. But when we'll be moving on to more advanced states, when when we have port states can be open or filtered, we'll be looking at how to determine whether or not we can perform an attack on it. All right, so it looks like we've responded. There we are. That's the exploit that we are going to be using. All right, so let me just enlarge that so you can see. All right, so matching modules. All right, so it's found one. Now it's going to ask us, and of course this is an exploit. So it's an exploit for Unix. All right, fantastic. It's an exploit for FTP. All right, that is great. It's an exploit for VSFTPD 2.3.4. Fantastic. So we've actually found an exploit that matches what we're looking for. So again, it's an FTP port and it's running VSFTPD 2.3.4. So excellent. We've found what we needed. Now let's look at the additional information. It is a backdoor. All right. Very important. Let's look at the disclosure date. So that was when it was disclosed. Obviously it's a very, very old vulnerability. Again, for the purpose of learning. The rank is excellent, which means it has been used and has been confirmed to work. The description simply describes what it's all about. We have the VSFTPD, which is the software version, and the version number, followed by the function or the exploit that this gives you. Right? So it's a backdoor command execution. Fantastic. Now, let's use this exploit. How do we go about doing that? Well, simply put, we just use and we can just copy this. Right. Again, the reason I highlight this is to just show you how it's done. All right. So we can paste that with Control-Shift-V, or you can right click and paste it as well. All right. So we're going to be using that, and we just hit enter. And if it's successful, it should say exploit and give the name of the exploit. Awesome. Now, as I said, if you know the syntax, the most efficient thing to do now, or the most the best thing to do now, is to show the options. All right. So show options. All right, so there we are. These are the options that are available with the exploit. So we already know that the let's go through this stage by stage. All right, so when it shows you the options, usually with different exploits or different modules, you'll have different options that you can customize depending on the attack vector. All right, so for example here we have the name. All right, the name of the option, which in this case we can change the rhost, which is the IP address or the target IP that you have to set in order for you to perform the exploit, right? And then for the R port, since it already knows it's running the FTP port is running on port 21, it'll already set that for you. But if a port is miscorrectly configured, which I've seen, it is incorrectly configured, which I've seen many times before, trust me, on many top servers. I've actually seen this with, myself, that where the systems administrator actually configures the FTP port onto another port number. Now, when this happens, it's very important that you get to know this. And that's why I said information gathering is critical. All right. So now we need to actually set the rhost, which we've looked at before. So it's simply put set rhost. All right. So set rhost, and finally you have to know the IP address. In this case, I've set up a virtual lab and I'm running this on my local network. So the IP address is going to be a local IP address or a private IP address. So 192.168.1.107, right? That's my Metasploitable 2 IP address. Yours might be different. It should be different. Again, your network is not going to be identical to mine. All right, moving along. So we're setting the rhost to that, and that is the syntax that we're using, and we're going to hit enter, and it's going to give you the option. The rhost is set to that current IP address. We can now show the options again to confirm that indeed it did set, and as you can see, yes, it did. Now all we have to do, or what is left, is we just need to hit exploit and it'll open up a backdoor, hopefully. All right, if everything went as planned. So exploit, and we hit enter. And if everything went as planned, and everything should have gone as planned, we should get a backdoor. There we are. Fantastic. It has worked. It has created a reverse shell and a command shell actually. So there we are. We can see the port that is outgoing and the port that is incoming, and the date at which this was opened. All right. So you might be asking, well, what are we doing here? Well, we actually have a reverse shell. So if I uname A, All right, if I just check some Linux commands, there we are, Linux Metasploitable 2 server, blah, 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 with the date that exists there, etc., etc. So we actually have access to the server. Fantastic. So if we list the files, as you can see, we have, this is what I'm talking about. The damage that can be done here is quite a lot. So, you can actually enter the root directory. Let's list what we have in there. We have the desktop. Let's see what we have on the desktop. Of course, there's not going to be anything because I haven't put anything on the desktop, and that's because I don't have a desktop, or a desktop environment installed on the Metasploitable 2. So if I list what's in there, as you can see, there's going to be nothing, but I'm guessing you guessed the idea. That is some basic exploitation of the services that are currently running on Metasploitable 2. Now we'll be moving along into more advanced ones. As I said, we'll be looking at web penetration testing. We'll be looking at the web apps that currently come with Metasploitable 2, like the damn vulnerable web application or PHP my admin, etc., etc. So that's going to be it for this video, guys. I hope you found value in this video. If you did, please leave a like down below. If you have any questions at all, let me know in the comment section, and you can hit me up on my social networks or on Kick. For the documented version of this tutorial or of this video, you can check out my website, hsploit.com. The link will be in the description as always, and I'll be seeing you in the next video. Peace. Peace.